Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio and the Spirit Society of Virginia in our Friday's Inspirational Talk. And we are inviting you to join us with your questions, with your comments, with your interaction as well. This is a study. It's a study to illuminate us. Why do we study together? To illuminate the mind, the soul, the immortal being, and to be treated as well, right? Because during this time, the good and loving spirits, they come. They deliver new energy medicine for us. They treat our loved ones. Were it not for their loving care, probably we would not be here at all. And we are living at a time that is so critical. The pandemic is still raging. Yes, it's not gone. And we shouldn't be wary with it, because this is just the nature of our current times. What should we do? Seek the good. See the blessings in this guide, in the pains, in the sorrows, learning to suffer well, as the Gospel according to Spiritism explains in its chapter 5. Chapter 5 is all about blessed are the afflicted. We cannot feel blessed when we are afflicted if we don't have this long-term vision of life. And only the Christ consciousness brings us this immortal feeling. And Spiritism explains how and why. To begin it, let us prepare ourselves to receive the message today, the treatment, with an initial message by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. Our friend Daisy is going to read for us. Right, Daisy?
That's right. Good evening, friends. So tonight we are starting with a message from our book, Our Daily Bread, and it's number 64. It is titled, Better to Suffer in Righteousness. And Emmanuel starts by quoting Peter saying, "It is better, if it is God's will, to suffer for doing good than for doing evil." This is in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 17. And Emmanuel explains to us, in order to economize financial resources that he will be compelled to abandon precipitously, the human being sometimes acquires deplorable illnesses that corrode the centers of force, causing undesirable death. By purchasing short-lived sensation for his physical body, he commonly acquires dangerous infirmities, which accompany the vehicle in which he moves about until his last days on earth. By getting extremely upset over insignificant lessons on the path, he poisons vital organs, thereby creating a fatal imbalance in his physical life. By stuffing the stomach on certain occasions, a vicious habit is establishing, affecting important organs of the physiological instrument, thus impeding the perfect function of carnal vessel for the simple pleasure of gluttony. Why fear facing the obstacles of a clear path of love and wisdom if the dark road of hatred and ignorance remains replete with vengeful and disturbing forces? How can we be afraid of fatigue and exhaustion, complications and incomprehensions, conflicts and disappointments, which are the consequence of the blessed battle for the supreme victory of righteousness, when the combat for the provisional triumph of evil conduces the combatants to tributes of afflictions and suffering? Let us utilize our best possibilities in service to Jesus Christ by pledging our lives to Him. The criminal weapon that breaks and the repugnant measures utilized always provoke curse and darkness. But for the exhausted worker in his duty, and for the lamp that extinguished in the illuminating service, a different destiny is reserved.
Now, friends, we invite everyone to join us in prayer. Let us begin by visualizing ourselves in a most therapeutic room. For those who know the Spiritist Society of Virginia, let us visualize ourselves there and surrounded by a lavender field. Dear Mother, Father God, we would like to thank you for reuniting us, for the blessings of this therapeutic moment, and for the knowledge that is never ending. What a joy to learn the new. Thank you for bringing to us all these teachings of Spiritism as we rejoice. We would like to visualize all of our homes enveloped in the light of the good, as we dream of the general good every day and take action. At this moment, we dedicate this prayer to those who are in the hospitals, especially those who are going through COVID experience, wherever they are in this world. We visualize healing hands enveloping each of them in deep renewal. And for us, may we pray every day for them, contributing with a new day on earth. May we think less of ourselves and more of others, and thus renew ourselves. May our dreams one day be the dream of the collective good. Deeply grateful and praiseworthy for everything you are and everything that you do, dear God. May you bless all of us in this study, in this learning experience, and the therapeutics with it, and so be it. All right, so here we are. We are here to talk about blessings in disguise. So the first question for us is, how do you react when adversities come your way? We need to think about it, to think about how do we feel and react when we are facing painful situations, difficulties, adversities, Do we tend to crystallize or to run away or to be violent, to go mad, to escape? That attitude is of the essence. Learning to go through challenges, pain, adversities. How are we going to grow in serenity if not amidst adverse events? How are we going to prove honesty if not at critical times? How are we going to prove that we are resilient if we are not exposed to challenges that push us? How are we going to prove our sincerity if not in situations in which we need to be courageous to tell the truth? The beauty of challenges, of sufferings, of adversities need to be appreciated by us. Vanessa, do we want to suffer? No. But we need to suffer well when that happens. Today, you and I, all of us together, we're going to count the blessings, to see the blessings in disguise. We're going to begin with Carol, who is going to lead us into the first part of this important study. Right, Carol?
Right. Thank you so much, dear Vanessa. Good evening, dear friends. We will call upon Leon Denis to inspire our learning experience tonight, particularly Paloma and myself. We are going to be referring to chapter 26 of the book Life, The Problems of Life and Destiny by Leon Denis. So, how is it, beloved friends, that each and every one of us can make an inner decision to find the good in the midst of adversities? How is it that we find the courage to prove our faith? How is it that we make this internal shift? Leon Denis is here to help us with the necessary instrumentation for us to get there. In helping us to re-signify pain, Leon Denis compares pain to a chisel and God to a divine sculptor, telling us that God, as a parent creator who loves us deeply, allows for our spirit to be molded, sculpted in immortal beauty through the challenges that come our way. Why does God send us challenges? Because God believes in us and believes as well that we are ready, as our dear Vanessa said, to prove our faith, to prove courage, to prove our ability to renounce, to prove our ability to put others above our own interests. So it is in this line of thinking that Leon Denis didactically breaks down the purposes of challenges in our lives from a divine angle. So Leon Denis teaches us that challenges come to us as a means to awaken one's senses. Oftentimes, beloved friends, when we are in our comfort zone, we are not attuned to the needs of others as much. For instance, maybe if no one near to us is experiencing COVID, we may have a particular attitude. We may say, oh, well, we can leave the mask aside. We don't need masks all the time. Why bother? We don't see anybody sick anyhow. Maybe this is just an over exaggeration. However, if COVID knocks closer to the doors of our hearts, all of a sudden we become more permeable to the pain of others. And we awaken to a reality that we were previously literally asleep to, meaning not aware of. And as we awaken to a greater sense of empathy, as we come to realize that our actions and choices do impact others, and as we come to understand that our actions do have eternal reactions, reactions that go above this lifetime, we begin to see challenges as learning opportunities as we develop empathy for others and decide, for instance, to wear masks out of social consciousness, because we do realize that this health crisis is a public health crisis and that we can do our part. We feel joy in wearing masks because we know we are helping the greater good. We no longer see it as a bother. We see it as an opportunity to help. It is in this change in the lenses of our internal understanding that we find the joy amidst a challenge. We all have our inner repertoire of emotional lenses, and it is up to us to direct these lenses towards our own very needs, as in, oh, we need a break, we need a vacation, we need to go away, we need to take care of ourselves, or to shift it towards we can do our part to contribute to the well-being of our community. It is in that Leon Denis, in this shift from the I to the we, that we are able to find spiritual joy. Also, Leon Denis tells us that as we find empathy through pain and understanding the pains of others as well, we purify and beautify our spirits. Why? Because we let go of blindness, spiritual blindness. For example, if we say to ourselves, oh, we don't care about COVID, COVID will never happen to us, it's not really happening. Then when someone whom we love becomes impacted by that or any illness, any other illness, then that veil of false superiority shatters and we become more humble. And often it is in times of adversity that we seek God, that we seek a higher power, that we recognize that there is an ultimate, much higher power than ourselves. And it is in this humbling attitude that we purify and beautify ourselves. And also, it is in this attitude of developing empathy and greater understanding of life through pain that we detach ourselves from earthly things, because our car, our homes, our jobs, our titles, though meaningful, are no longer the center of our lives. We know, we come to understand that we are much more than the eyes can see. And this is why Leon Denis compares challenges to chisel in the hands of the divine sculptor, because God is slowly taking away the edges of pride and selfishness from each and every one of us out of pure love. And to illustrate this process, dear friends, we are going to refer not only to Leon Denis, but to the journey of Paul and Stephen as recounted by the Spirit Emmanuel through Chico Xavier in a book by this very name. So, what are the blessings in disguise? According to Leon Denis, these blessings come in the form of challenges that bring about inner transformation. How so? Because they help us to react differently to adversities, to respond differently internally, even if no one sees the change, no one else sees the change. We feel that change inside of ourselves. And this inner transformation, says Leon Denis, is brought forth by the incessant combat against passions and matter. This is exactly, dear friends, what happened to Paul or Saul when he had the encounter with our divine master at the doors of Damascus. The light of the master, the love of the master, literally blinded him. And he became blind because he was overcome by his pride, his false sense of superiority. He thought the Christ, the Master, was nothing more than a simple carpenter. And when he saw the Master in his humble greatness, he literally came to his knees. And that moment was the moment when Saul of Tarsus shifted his internal lenses. He was in the middle of the desert. No one was there filming him. There was no social media. He didn't publish this on Facebook or WhatsApp or Twitter. There were no followers to his transformation, but his transformation was so great that we are here also because of his efforts, since he brought Christianity to the Gentiles. So that moment was a shift that transformed not only his life, but our lives as well. It all began, however, with an inner shift. So what is Leon Denis telling us? That it is our responsibility to set the pace of our progress and to decide to which universal network we would like to connect. Which Wi-Fi are we choosing on a daily basis? The Wi-Fi based on the I, me, mine perspective network, the selfish network, as Saul of Tarsus had done all his life, thinking about his titles, his positions, his priorities, his agenda, and imposing upon others? Or do we choose thinking about others more so than about ourselves? If we do that, then we are closer to becoming a pure spirit, connecting to the constructive universal network. It is only through the blessing of inner transformation that we can connect to the blessings that are in disguise. And how do we do that? By combating our own selfishness and attachment to matter. And Leon Denis goes further by saying that pain sculpts the soul as it becomes an incomparable masterpiece outlined by the harmonious and sweet contours of our divine psyche. So Leon Denis knows that we are divine, recognizes that we are children of God, but he also knows that it is only by divesting us of our own self-interests, our own connection to matter, our own pride, that we are able to allow our light to shine as Master Jesus modeled to us. And what is the other blessing in disguise that Leon Denis brings to our attention? Is the blessing of example. He says that at the same time as we work on this inner shift, those who already prioritize the greater good, the good of the collective, serve as an example to others. And the greatness that they show in suffering are never lost. They actually illuminate the whole life of the people who witness their suffering. As an example of how this occurs, we see here Stephen almost leaving his physical body at the very end of his physical life, looking at his quote-unquote torturer, Saul of Tarsus, rather than being overwhelmed by self-pity, rather than claiming attention to himself, rather than being righteous. He chose to rise above his own self-interests. And rather than proving himself right or imposing his own agenda, he decided to focus on the good of others. How so? He told his sister Abigail how wonderful his torture actually was. And he praised Saul of Tarsus, telling Saul of Tarsus how much of a great spirit he was, great soul he was, and how much he would serve the master. So we have here two opposing examples. One who was literally destructive, Saul of Tarsus, thinking only of his titles, his position, his need for recognition, his need for superiority, and the other who was more evolved, is more evolved, thinking primarily of the good of the collective, finding the beauty, the divine in the very person who was his torturer, thinking of the plans of the Christ for that person rather than feeling sorry for himself. So we see here how it is possible for us to choose to elevate ourselves above the pain and re-signify it by directing it towards the good of others. Stephen could have spent all that time talking about himself, feeling sorry about himself, but rather he chose to empower Saul of Tarsus. And it was because of that choice that he became Paul of Tarsus later and was able to bring Christianity to all of us. So one person, such as Stephen, could illuminate the whole life of the people who witnessed his efforts. Why? Because he chose to be selfless rather than selfish. This is how far his examples went. Out of selflessness, we talk about him today. And out of selflessness came Paul of Tarsus. So, dear friends, it is up to us to choose how we undergo suffering. Suffering will come to us as a tool of our redemption and education for immortality. But how we feel it, how we encode it, is up to us. We can choose to surpass the feelings of defeat by focusing on the good of others. Right at this very moment, when many are with their physical lives being threatened by COVID, we can choose to be selfish and think only of our comfort, like Saul of Tarsus, trying to impose upon others misinformation or the fact that we deserve to take a break, the fact that it's our body and we don't have to wear masks. We can be like Saul of Tarsus and literally become destructive by not thinking of the good of others, or we can choose to be more constructive by focusing on the good of the collective, like Stephen has done, prioritizing the good of an entire community, finding the good where pain was overwhelming. And to finalize, we have our guidance model. Never have we heard, dear friends, of our guidance model waking up and saying, oh, today I deserve to take the day off. Today I'm not going to go fishing with Peter. Today, don't talk to me because I'm on a break. Oh no, not today. I need a day off. No, we've never heard our master do this. He constantly prioritizes the collective good. He lives for the collective good. To date, he's sending us his loving presence and thought and sentiment so that we are here. We are here because of him. And Leon Denis, using him as an example, as our guidance model, explains what is, as he terms it, behind pain. Leon Denis tells us there is someone invisible who conducts its actions according to the needs of each one with art and infinite wisdom. So it is up to us to find a lesson in the challenge, not only for ourselves, but for the good of others. If we take the lesson and multiply it for the good of others, wisdom will come out of it. And Leon Denis goes even further by saying that as we think of others, even in the midst of pain, as Stephen has done, we increase our inner beauty, which is never complete, but always pursued from light to light, virtue to virtue, until we become celestial spirits, like the Master, who, even when he was at the cross, could think of each and every one of us. So much so that some of his last words were, "Forgive them, Father, because they do not know what they have done." His last words were not, "Save me, please. I don't deserve to be here. I have to think of myself. Come on, after everything I have done. This is not fair." No, because a spirit of his stature only thinks of the good of others. When our life project also becomes prioritizing the good of others, then we will be going on the right track. And even pain is an opportunity for us to prioritize the good of others, as our dear Paloma will now explain to us.
Thank you, Carol. And we are going to continue to unveil the many, many layers of pain, the way Leon Denis sees it and describes to us on this book, friends, that you can find on Amazon, on Kindle version. It's called The Problem of Life and Destiny. We are bringing parts of the chapter. The chapter has so much for us to talk about, which in 1 hour is very hard. So we highly encourage you, go find the book, go read, reflect on this, because pain is part of life. It's something that ultimately we're all going to be going through, assisting others, our family members. It's just part of life. So much so that Leon Denis starts by saying that all the lives here suffers, nature, animals, and humans. So it's not only us. Nature also goes through their type of suffering. We see things start to grow and end. In animals, we also see that there's pain. Even animals feel pain. Are they conscious? That's a different story, but the pain is there. In humans, for us, we already understand that we can feel the pain, but now it's all about how we perceive the pain. But the question, and that's a statement that Leon Denis says, is we have pain, we suffer, and yet love is the law of the universe. And it's out of love that God has formed all beings. So, friends, if it's all about love, and God only wants love for us with certainty, why pain? Aha! Leon Denis asked the question, and then on the chapter, he talks about it. Why pain? He says, pain is only a law of balance and education, is an agent of development, a condition of progress. So we pause here, and we really need to take a step back and feel the answers, because it's almost like we should change the name from pain. What is pain? And the law of balance in education. So what does pain brings to us that provides this balance? We have to put ourselves in that situation and imagine. When everything is going really well in our lives, and let us imagine a time where we don't have pain, what do we see? We see a lot of excess. If there are no diseases, let us make a easy example. Our body's well, we don't have anything going on, we're gonna have excesses. We're gonna eat too much, we're gonna drink too much, we're going to sleep too little, we don't exercise, but our body's good, everything is fine. And we do a lot of this when we're young. The body is still full of energy, and we feel we can do whatever we want. Extremes. And then pain comes. A disease here and there. Maybe now we ate too much sugar, we developed resistance, we have diabetes. Or we ate too much and now we're encountering heart conditions due to the amount of fat we ate. Or pain in our backs because we didn't exercise and now our core is not that strong. And pain comes to demonstrate to us that we need balance, that everything needs balance. Life needs balance. And during that process, what happens to us? We learn. That's why it's a law of balance in education. because we're going to have that aha moment. Even if not in this life, dear friends, we will have that aha moment with certainty, where we're going to say, aha, I know what I need to do. I need to eat better. I need to stop, losing nights of sleep. I need to exercise. Okay. Now I learned that lesson and I have steps to go forward. But is this pain that we're talking, is it just physical pain? That's the easy one. The physical pain is the pain that we see, that we feel, that actually when it's happening to somebody, we can recognize. If somebody has cancer, we feel for that person. Okay, that person has cancer. We know what it is. But we need to go deeper because here we are spiritists. So when we talk about pain, we also understand that there is a pain that is emotional. There is a pain that is spiritual. There are pains that we carry from prior lives. It comes with us. We're working on it. And that's why Leon Denis is telling to us that pain is a way to continue our progress. It's necessary. Necessary for what? For the body? No, for the spirit. The body's going to go. It's going to perish. We bless the body. We thank God for the body. We care for the body because we need it. But once the body goes, we're really looking into us as a spirit. And that's what Carol was bringing to us. Looking at Paul and Stephen, well, Paul when he was Saul, in how they were dealing with the pains they were carrying and how they handled it, but that's from the spirit perspective. Leon Denis goes to tell us that often physical pain is a warning from nature, which seeks to preserve us from excesses. Without it, we would abuse our organs to the point of destroying them prematurely. Okay. Super important point for us, which we started talking a little bit before. If we're experiencing pain, physical pain in this specific case, that Leon Denis bringing to us, it is almost like the alarm bells are starting to ring. Bling, 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 bling. It's calling our attention. What are our choices? We can disregard. It won't go away. Eventually, it's going to get worse. Or we can stop and try to understand where and why we are receiving this alarm. It's a great thing, dear friends. Physical pain is a good thing. It is this opportunity to say, pay attention, something is off. What can be the reason for this? Again, many reasons. Emotional, could be spiritual. It could be physical, like Leon Denis telling us, because we're living in excesses. Eating too much, drinking too much, not sleeping, not exercising, making poor choices in our health. And then our body's saying, hey, pay attention. And I'm going to use strong words, but it's true. When we abuse our bodies consciously, knowing that our body God gave to us and we need it to keep ourselves in this reincarnation, to work and fulfill our reincarnatory plan, If we are choosing to destroy it, that's called suicide. Indirect suicide. Strong words, I know. But André Luiz told us in the book Nosso Lar that when he was in the umbral, he could hear the spirit saying, suicide, suicide, suicide. And he didn't know why. Why were they calling him suicide? He didn't suicide. And much later on, when he was already rescued, was in the hospital, receiving treatment, he wanted to know why was he being called suicide. And he found out that it was because of his excesses. Yes, things that we think are okay because society says it's okay. Oh, it's okay to drink because, everybody drinks. Or it's okay to smoke because it's not illegal. So, I'm not doing anything illegal, but it is destroying our body. And then we have the physical pain later on and we don't know why. So, from today on, we cannot say we don't know any longer. We know we need to make our choices consciously without abusing our bodies any longer. Leon Denis says more. He tells us that any suffering, by its chemical action, always has a useful result, but this result varies infinitely according to individuals and their progress. By refining our material envelope, it gives more strength to our inner being, which then can more easily detach itself from earthly things. So, no pain is equal, even though we might have the same disease, friends. That's what he's saying. What varies? Why could the results be different, not in terms of treatment, but how we perceive the pain? The difference is person to person and their progress. We know that more elevated spirits handle pain very differently. Do they feel pain? Yes. Did Stephen feel pain when he was being stoned by Saul? When he was being whipped? Yes, he felt the physical pain. But inside of him, that wasn't where he was focused. Not the suffering. He was focused on his spiritual progression. He was focused in God. And that's exactly what Leon Denis telling us and bringing to us this awareness that we can also perceive pain, call it suffering, differently. The more we refine ourselves, the more we understand ourselves, the more we understand our true nature as spirit, we will perceive pain differently. And once that happens, friends, we will also be less material because, of course, once we understand what matters and we focus our time in what matters, we will detach ourselves from the more mundane items, which we know, it's in the Spirit's book. Our biggest challenge in this planet is materialism. So we refine ourselves. The more we go and align ourselves to God, we perceive ourselves with spirit, we change the way we look at pain, the less attached we will be. Now, what happens when we don't move forward? not a surprise. Pain will come and push us forward. It shakes our life. Shoop, comes and says, either you move or you move. So, is that a bad thing? No. Is it easy? No. But does he help us? Yes. Does God love us? Yes. He's giving us this awareness. Hey, you're feeling it. Come on. You can do it. Pain is not to push us down. Pain is to remind us that we are constantly in this movement of progression, always pushing our boundaries to the next level. We have many levels to accomplish. And it's so funny because for us that have family and children, you might encounter a situation where you're telling the child, you have to study for the test. And they might say, it's so painful. I want to get up and I want to walk around. And it's just, Mom, I don't want to sit down and do this test. But we're there. We're saying, you can do it. Come on, go for it. This is just a test. And it's going to get even better. And you're going to learn more. In the next phase, you won't even believe there's so much more coming. You just need to get through this. We coach our children. Hopefully, we coach our children to the next level. And God is coaching us. You can do it. Pain comes. That's okay. It's there for a purpose. It's an agent of development. We learn, get the alarm, accept it, say what's going on. Move to the next phase. And for us, friends, we need examples. Carol brought fantastic examples. And before we finish, I wanted to bring to us a more modern time example, someone that most of us have heard of. But if this is your first talk and you're listening about Chico Xavier, please go find out about him. Chico Xavier was the greatest Brazilian medium, not because of all the messages and the more than 500 books he brought to us, but because of his example. Chico had a lot of health issues, and we never heard of Chico complaining. He also didn't say he didn't have issues. He said, I do. Sometimes he would write letters to his friends and say, I'm feeling my hands shaking, because he felt really cold a lot of times. But he knew that there was a purpose to it. Never blaming God. Never blaming others. He just understood it. So Chico had this disease that was quite complex on his left eye. Early on, he had it. Had to live with it his whole life. And of course, he's suffering with it. He asks Emmanuel, his spirit guide, if Emmanuel could, intercede with the higher spirits to maybe heal his eye. Like, hey, Emmanuel, can you go talk up there and see if there's something they could do? And it's interesting because this is Chico Xavier, so humble, asking for help. He was going to the doctors, the physical doctors, incarnated doctors, but he was also looking for assistance. Please help me. And Emmanuel tells Chico that, of course, the good spirits were already helping. The good spirits are always helping, friends. If you are at this moment going through something, you can bet that the spirits are helping. You might not feel it, you might not perceive them, or maybe you do, but they're there. And Emmanuel says that the higher spirits were helping Chico to sustain his energies, giving him magnetic fluidics passes, but they were also assisting the physical doctors that were treating Chico. So Not only they were helping Chico, but they were also inspiring and having like reaching towards the physical doctors. So think about this, dear friends. We talk about the coronavirus so much. And we're talking about doctors and nurses and scientists that have been working nonstop for 2 years. Do you think they are operating by themselves? They are receiving the same assistance that Chico's doctor received. They are assisting the whole world. Emmanuel even told Chico that he wasn't any different than anyone else in the planet, which tells us we receive the same type of treatment. And Emmanuel told Chico that he had to go through that pain on the eye for his own benefit. Chico, at the end, after 30 years, he said that he thanked God for that blessed disease in his eye. And he said that during that whole time, that disease was really providential. And through his pain, it really helped him reflect and respect the suffering of others. So, friends, if we are in a position right now that we're not in pain, let us not forget that our world, a planet of trial and expiation, has a lot of pain. It is important for us to empathize with the ones that need our help by prayer, by spreading the word of the good news, by being optimistic, by not spreading fake news, because we have our responsibility. Let us respect other people's sufferings too, and not just say, you know what, I don't believe in that. If somebody says they are in pain, we validate it. We understand. Chico's example to us, which is just Chico, so humble, showing to us that minimizing our suffering really puts the other into front and center of our lives, which is what Jesus did. Our guided model put others in front of him, and he was crucified. To this day, our guided model, Master Jesus, puts each one of us in front of him. All of us being cared. No pain is being unassisted. We're always supported by the higher realms. So, feeling this new way of perceiving pain, we're going to pass the word to our dear Vanessa.
Thank you, Paloma, Carol, for this illuminated study. Leon Denis certainly brings to us wisdom that is so current. And it's a blessing for us to be here connected. I see friends here with us, Narciso, Katia, Slavic, John the Rose, Linda, Nora, Michelle, Ney, and many more friends. We are here together to be multipliers. Let's multiply these teachings where we are. When people come and say, oh my gosh, this pandemic, say, God bless the pandemic. Let's count the blessings. Maybe we should write a book together and count the blessings during this pandemic, because we are learning so much with it. And if we are not, then it's a sign that the pandemic cannot go away, because it's a shakeup. Right, Daniel? Yes, we can see you, and I know Michelle is there too. So, friends, it's an opportunity for us to seek the good and cherish the blessings. Sometimes people say, Vanessa, how can you say that when my loved one died? Mine did too. I don't think they died. I'm not sad. I'm happy for my father. He is at another moment. Great for him. He graduated. Yes. This is Jesus' answer to Bartholomew's sadness about the death of his mom. And, but Vanessa, I lost my job. Great. You're going to find a better one. It's going to be a new journey. You're going to find talent. We need to be optimistic. Dr. Salomon, Martin Salomon at Penn State University, was the doctor that proved to us about learned optimism. We learn to be optimistic. It's not something that is just in us. We can learn it, and we should learn it if we don't have it already. Because by being optimistic, we're boosting the quality of our lives. Otherwise, it's not only about this life, it's about life continuum. It's not about this moment, it's about always. As I say to Virginia sometimes, Virginia, you're only 8, but it's good to lose today to gain tomorrow. It's good for us. It's okay. Because we may lose today, but tomorrow we gained peace of mind. You know that offer that people passed on to you, saying, join us in something illegal, and you said, no, no. Don't go regretting it and saying, oh, I should have done it. By now, if we did it, we would have a bigger house, a better car. Don't say that. You would have a better car and a bigger house, but you wouldn't be able to sleep. And only God knows when you're going to come to terms with the consequences of that nonsense. So it's great to lose the things that are passing, because we want to gain things that are immortal. Blessings in disguise. So, friends, we are here ready for Luciana, right, Luciana, who is going to lead us into the passes. Let us prepare for this moment. Forget the kitchen, the food, the baby, the dog, the clock, the anything. Hands off. My hands are off. Hands off. And it's only a few minutes, but if we cherish it, it's going to be like plastic surgery in our energy bodies. All right? Luciana, we're all yours. Thank you.
So let us all close our eyes and feeling those loving vibrations that the doctors and nurses of the spiritual realm has provided to us throughout this session. Now, as mindfully we connect with the healing energies, we visualize Master Jesus, the doctor of all doctors, in front of us, healing us in both realms of life. And we feel lighter and lighter. And we can start to feel the warmth in our heart as our loving Master spiritually touches us in the heart and sending us the harmonious energies to heal us. And now there's no more pain. No pain spiritually, no pain physically, because we understand that all is love and everything is transforming and helping us to progress and move forward as we align ourselves with the truth, with love. We can better understand who we are and where we are coming from. And this healing process more easily can permeate us and help us. And as our chakras, our spiritual vibration is harmonized, we now send these loving vibrations to our next one, to our family members, friends, everyone in the whole planet are receiving this healing energy that is abundant, that God, together with Christ and His team, can spread all over the world. And as we visualize the whole planet enveloping these healing energies, we now, with the hearts full of gratitude for having this opportunity of being together, learning more about ourselves, learning about the true life that we have. We feel the joy. We feel how much we are all loved. And as we connect daily with these healing energies, we can feel that the whole planet is transforming and progressing. And so we pray, dear Father, for all our brothers and sisters that are suffering, that are in great need of help. May each one of us be courageous and helpful in being the instrument of you in this planet and help all of those around us as we practice charity and the law of loves. So, dear mentors, dear Master Jesus, dear God, feeling your love, your protection, and your care, we would like to ask the permission to close this meeting of tonight. And so be it.
Let us then meditate on this message by Leon Denis, Paul and Stephen, and many more to our own gain. We wish you a lovely night or day, no matter where you are, which day you're listening or watching this. We're together on earth evolving. Let us dream of counting the blessings every day, friends. Thank you so much for our togetherness, and let us stay tuned at Kardec Radio, where we have always more to nourish our souls. Tomorrow, here at Kardec Radio at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, since Paloma talked about Chico Xavier, we're going to have a group of scholars in Spiritism who talk about their paper on Chico Xavier as the White Crow, mediumship as the evidence for the afterlife. They won an award by the prestigious Bigelow Institute, and they'll be here tomorrow with us. Thank you, friends. A big hug. Until next time.